Episode 39, Thriving Beyond, From Tragedy to Triumph.
Welcome to Creative Success.
Fueling success with creativity. It's the Creative Success Podcast with Tanner Gers.
Designed to build inspiration for life. Delivering the messages and ideas for today.
And I'm Tanner Gers. What can we create together today? In this episode, creators, I'm sitting down with a man who has been to the bottom and back up to the top, and he is still climbing. He talks with us today about his journey, from the jail cell to chicken soup for the soul, and he shares exactly how you too can turn your life around and fuel your success with creativity.
Hey creators, this is Jay Thorne, empowering mindful humans and liberating them from the stigma of introversion at theintronaut.com. And you're listening to the Creative Success Show with Tanner Gers.
It's time to blast off, baby. Thank you so much, Jay, for that great introduction. And today's episode, creators, is brought to you by CreativeSuccessShow.com. For the complete show notes on today's episode and all the links to connect with today's guest, come on over to CreativeSuccessShow.com/39. I had an amazing time with today's guest, and I'm having an amazing time right now in Ames, Iowa. For those who don't know, I play blind baseball. It is one of my favorite things to do in the world. It is the first blind sport that I ever found out about. It literally changed my life, and hopefully one day while I'm still alive, I can help make this sport a Paralympic sport and put it on the stage that it deserves. The World Series this year has 20 teams coming together all from across the United States to meet in Ames, Iowa. But it doesn't just stop at the border of the United States. There's Team Canada. Team China is getting going. There's some teams in Europe, a couple Taiwanese teams, the Dominican Republic team, and we are getting more and more teams. The sport is growing. It is so competitive, and I love it dearly. And you know I'm going to be putting my best forward, putting my bat on that ball, and hitting some runs, bringing them in. So, root for me. Championship game is going down on Saturday. Everything gets live, kicked off this Tuesday, and thank you so much for your prayers and your wishes. And do me a favor right now. If you wish me the best of luck, wish me some luck, create some luck right now by sharing this episode. You can do it right to Facebook from the podcast app on your phone. It takes 2 seconds. Or the best place to share is on the complete show notes page at CreativeSuccessShow.com/39. Vidal and I would both appreciate that very much because we got all the links to connect with him right there on the show notes page, as well as clickable links, messages, and quotes from this episode so that it makes it really easy to share a specific message from this episode right to Facebook, right to Twitter, or wherever your favorite social channel is. I really appreciate the love. I really appreciate you sharing. And without any further ado, let's get right into today's content. Like most of us do, today's guest on Creative Success took a chance and changed careers. That was the first shift that ignited incredible hardship. Some of these hardships included marital infidelity, alcohol abuse, losing his job, divorce, bankruptcy, and jail time, if it wasn't bad enough. But when he was there, when he was in that jail cell, he picked up a book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. Today, he is a professional speaker, successful entrepreneur, and coach. He's contributed to such publications including The Huffington Post, The Good Man Project, and, who would have thought, the book where it all started, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And most recently, he is the author behind Thriving Beyond, From Tragedy to Triumph. Vidal Cisneros, thank you so much for joining us today on Creative Success.
Gratitude, brother. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
The honor is ours, creators, because this is a man who is truly living what it means to achieve creative success, to fuel success through creativity. How powerful is it to pick up a book, get so motivated by it, so driven, realizing what's inside of you, right, creators? The success that's already breathing inside of you, and then later to be published in that book, in the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Vidal, tell us about that day when you picked up that book.
Yes, Tanner. Man, that was an amazing day when I first read the actual first published one. So it's over 20 some years. It was published back in 1992, I believe.
Right.
And I've heard about the book, right? And this is back in 2009. I heard about the book, and I was sitting at the bottom of the bottom. So it couldn't get any worse for me.
Sure. And just to put it in context, tell us briefly, what were you in jail for? How long were you looking at? What was the prison term? What was the sentence looking like? And, just to give creators the sense of the depth of that bottomness.
Right. The depth was so deep. I couldn't think it could get any worse. And that's exactly what I was doing at that bottom point. I was asking God, could it get any worse? Like, really, God? My wife was seeing another man. She was pregnant and it wasn't mine.
Oh, God.
And I had spiraled down this depression / alcoholic addiction.
Yeah.
And I wasn't myself anymore. I just felt like I was having out-of-body experiences like this just isn't my life. There's no way possible. My whole world got flipped upside down. Being married and with that person for 16 years was hard to all of a sudden one day you walk in to this like Twilight Zone new reality where what you see is not real anymore. And it was hard to swallow that pill. So when I finally did, it was sitting there in jail at the rock bottom point, going through the alcoholic withdrawals. And mind you, it was a situational alcoholic withdrawal. It wasn't something that I'd been an alcoholic for so many years, right? So
Sure.
I was facing a possible 2-year sentence because I had lost a sheriff deputy twice. So I eluded a sheriff deputy twice. And because of that, I didn't know who I was anymore. I did not want to get pulled over, Tanner. I was like, I'm going to lose my job because at the time I was in a transitional job trying to ignite this coaching and speaking career.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And I knew that I was going to disappoint my children, my family, if I would lose this job. So there was something in me that was saying, okay, I owe it to them because it's already bad enough. Because my whole world is just being rocked. Let me try my best not to get pulled over.
Yes.
And
yes.
The ironic part is that I did have relationships and friendships with colleagues that were sheriff deputies.
Wow.
So that kind of made it worse as I was spiraling downward because it was kind of like a get free out of jail card where I could just drop a name and who knows, maybe they might know them.
Right.
So I was getting out of control, to be honest with you, Tanner.
So just to put that in context, so just to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So, you are evading police in a high-speed chase, probably under the influence?
Heavily under the influence. It was an all-day binger at the Milwaukee Brewers game.
Wow. Okay. Milwaukee Brewers, heavily drinking, driving home, and get into a high-speed chase. Now, you're in jail. You are recently arrested for this endeavor, for this experience, for this mistake, and all these things are running through your mind. The marital affair, your kids, the transition into the job, and there you are in the cell. Wow.
Yeah, and what made matters worse is after I lost a sheriff deputy twice, in a moment of hesitation, Tanner, I ended up crashing into another inebriated driver, and thank God he was only injured minorly with a broken collarbone. And that was one of those kind of like slow motion moments where you don't believe it's about to happen and you can't do anything to change it. So his PT Cruiser, after hitting my Grand Jeep Cherokee pretty hard, spun around in a 360. So spun around after hitting the front end of the Grand Jeep Cherokee. I hit him on the wheel well of the passenger side. And that Grand Jeep Cherokee was built like a tank. It's very durable. And I sat there after that impact and I sobered up so fast, Tanner.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing what hormones can do. You get that rush of adrenaline. You have that wake up moment, right? Creators, and this could happen in your life. You don't have to be in a car accident to have this moment, right? You could have an epiphany when you realize, hey, I'm tired of this job. It's time to start building something different. Or in this case, it was a tragic moment and you realized that shit just hit the fan.
Yes. And speaking of adrenaline rushes, Tanner, that was the highest of the adrenaline rushes that I think I'll ever have in my life, next to jumping out of a plane, was eluding a sheriff deputy twice.
Right.
I was out of my mind. As I was doing it, I was like, this can't be me. What is wrong with me? And in that impact and finally having that moment of clarity as I'm sitting there looking at the car totaled, the front end totaled, and hoping I didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I knew I had to stop doing what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was out of control. I was driving inebriated more than I ever had in my whole life. I was drinking during the week. I wasn't who I was.
I can totally relate to that, Vidal. There was moments in my life when, after my accident, when I lost my vision, that I was so depressed and angry that I was abusing substances, and it got into the workplace, and being completely depressed and anxious after I lost my sight. And then I heard this message that really helped me realize it's time to move forward. And it came from my dad in terms of it could always be worse. And he broke it down in a much more passionate, emotionally charged experience. That moment, I remember that moment like it was yesterday, even though it was over 12 years ago. But I got to know what Chicken Soup for the Soul did for you.
Yes, Tanner. It was one of those moments of clarity when I was sitting in that jail cell going through the withdrawals. And as I was upset at God, thinking, God, seriously, really? It can't get any worse than this. And what I decided to do was flip that on its head. And I said, you know what? If the worst things possible can happen, then so can the best. So from there, I was also doing my hardcore Christian walk at the time. So I was going to church, but that just wasn't enough for me. So in that jail cell, the only books that I could read other than the books in the library that I had to get my hands on was the Bible. So when I had that moment of complete clarity there at the rock bottom point, I knew I had to figure out how other people in my situation did it. So I thought of the story of Job that's in the Bible, if you're familiar with the story of Job in the Bible.
I am not.
So Job was a very wealthy man, and God grants him abundance, complete abundance. So the story goes that the devil tested God in saying, well, if we take that away from Job, he won't love you anymore, God. He only loves you because you're blessing him, right? So then God says, all right, let's take it all away and give him calamities and just the worst tragedies possible. So he takes away his wealth. He takes away his health. He has his wife hate him. So he has nothing going for him anymore. So he's at his rock bottom point. And what Job does then, in a moment of clarity, he finally sees that it's about blessing what I do have. Let me be grateful for my friends that are showing up and that are actually here for me because I don't have those things anymore.
Absolutely.
Boom, the light bulb went off in my head. And I said, let me continue doing what I was doing. So up to that point, Tanner, I was already praying, but I wasn't fasting. So I was praying in personal development teaches us that in order for us to break out of a pattern, we must do something radical. And I was stuck in a very vicious, hideous pattern. So I had to do something very powerful in order to break myself out. So I started praying for my estranged wife at the time, the unborn child, and the man she was seeing. And I prayed blessings on them, Tanner. So those seeds were already out there up until that point. But then I connected it to fasting. And then I just started meditating in gratitude, just every single day as much as I could. And I started giving away my trays to other people that were reading the Bible or inspirational stuff. And they started seeing that something's going on with this guy. And I was in there with some pretty big time criminals. So these were murderers, bank robbers, so on and so forth. They were all there to see the federal judge. So they didn't put me in there with the minimum, criminals in the place. They wanted to teach me a lesson obviously for what I had done, right?
Sure.
So then fast forward, I finally step into that library and I see this book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, the original.
And I want to stop you right there, though, because I want to get to Chicken Soup for the Soul, but you dropped something there that I want creators to take home. Whether you resonate with Christianity or not, whether you're spiritual or not, it gets back to these same fundamental principles, creators. He had a mindset shift. He had a thought, an idea, and then he took action on it. He saturated his mind with gratitude while giving forgiveness, as he was saying, praying for blessings for his estranged wife, the other man, and the child, giving forgiveness to those people and wishing the best upon them. All right, now you pick up Chicken Soup for the Soul. I just had to throw that in there, make sure everybody caught that.
Absolutely, yep. So I pick up that book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I start reading it. And at first, Tanner, the stories to me were very cheesy because of where I was.
Sure.
And I had this little thought just in the back of my mind, just whisper, if you get through this, maybe your story could be in there. But it wasn't anything that I said, oh yeah, my story should be in there. It was just kind of one of those passing thoughts. And as I connected with other Christians that were there, and as I continued my praying and fasting, I started to notice a different vibrational shift within me. I became very sensitive and acute to what others were going through. So if somebody came in, which majority of people that come in there are going through some stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But what you sense is that you're giving your flesh, you're giving the material things, you're giving them zero power. Okay, so you're saying you've been keeping me limited. So I'm about to step into the spiritual me, the soul that's living and breathing within me, right? So if you're familiar with scripture, you know that we are not physical beings having spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having physical experiences, right?
Yeah.
So once I stepped into that, I was able to see so much clearly, and I was able to step into abundance and continue the journey, but on a new level and with a new chain of thought. And excuse me, the chain of events that happened after that were absolutely incredible. Leaving there, I stepped into abundance and opportunity that came my way. I didn't shackle and sabotage myself, Tanner. I accepted what I was going through. But before I could accept what I was going through, Tanner, I had to let go of that life. It was gone. And that was the hardest thing for any man, any father, any husband. But once I did that, Tanner, things shifted quickly. Because if you want the blessings to land in your hand, you have to open up that clenched hand and let go of what's in there. And that is hard for anyone going through tragedy, as you know, Tanner.
Absolutely. It makes me think of an analogy that I often use when I'm delivering a presentation, where we're often attempting to create a better future. And yet at the same time, So we're reaching for that future. And at the same time, we're holding on to the past. And we've only got two hands, creators. And the big thing to keep in mind here is that in order to have a better future, instead of reaching for that, we've got to grab a hold of today by the horns. And by the horns, creators, grabbing today by the horns takes two hands. So we must let go of the past. We've got to stop reaching for the future because all we have is right now. Beautifully said, Vidal.
Thank you, brother. I am over here grinning ear to ear, and I'm just remembering the depthness of those moments, and they don't get better when I think about it, but we get stronger. And this is something that I mentioned to somebody at a conference that I was at actually yesterday. And I told her name is Beverly, and she's at a rock bottom point as well. And I said, Beverly, trust me, the obstacles are only going to get bigger, but we get stronger. The internal muscles, that's what you want to build up. The resilience. And that's the beautiful part of this journey, is that gave me the foundation for ultimate growth, ultimate thriving, and the blessings that kept on coming. But I had to step into servitude. I had to step into serving others and not myself anymore. I didn't know what to expect, Tanner, after that experience, but I welcomed it. And thank God I met the girl that I'm with still now to this day. She's so amazing. And never in my wildest dreams, Tanner, would I have thought that I would have been the person that should be with her, because she's phenomenal. And the person that I was back when I was married would have never thought that that's what I deserve. And sometimes that's what we do to ourselves. We sabotage ourselves. We settle for less than what we deserve. And that is my message, is stop settling for less than what you deserve. If the more you work on yourself, the more you focus on the internal you, the intentional you, the greater and more fulfilling your life will be. But it doesn't happen when you're focused on the external stuff. It doesn't happen when we're focused on the superficial things and the Joneses and trying to be like everybody else. So that's... Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to say I could not agree more, Vidal. It is incredible how abundant you become within. External abundance just happens, creators. When you become a better person, your life becomes better. When you become a better person, better people come into your life. When you become a better person, you are better able to get over the obstacles that are inevitable, because it doesn't matter how amazing, how rich, what great of a job you have, how awesome or big your home is, how fast your car goes. We will have obstacles. Life throws problems on top of life, right? And so no matter how abundant you are, you will have struggles. But being a better person enables you to get through those struggles with so much more grace, so much more ease, and less effort. Vidal, I am loving what you're saying, brother.
Oh man, I'm having a blast. Thank you for having me again.
So that's where it began for you, right? That the big shifts, the big moments. And Vidal, I know for me, some of the biggest, most difficult work comes with making yourself a better person. Creating an awesome business, being an awesome speaker, creating the external life that we all wish to create, whether that's $10,000 a month, $100,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, all those, quote unquote financial accolades. That's the easy stuff that happens on the tail end of the difficult stuff, which is within yourself, working within yourself and being that better person. Can you share with us one or two things that creators can put into play on a daily basis or on a regular basis that will help them become a better person? Maybe something to become aware of, maybe something to stay focused on, and the practice that you do on a regular basis to achieve it.
Absolutely. Number one, and this is something that I go through with a lot of my coaching clients, is step number one. Let's focus on the wins. And I know a lot of people talk about the wins, but I like to focus on your lifetime of accomplishments that you didn't give yourself a pat on the back for.
Yes.
So everything starts with your mindset. So back when you were a child, a baby, give yourself a pat on the back for taking that first breath of life. Nobody took it for you. You had to take that breath, right? And then keep going and fill up that wind sheet until it hits 200 at least. Because if you can focus on that one breath, then you're going to be focused on the little details. You learn how to crawl, you learn how to walk, you learn how to run, ride the bicycle, count the alphabet. How many letters are in the alphabet? How many languages do you know? How many times have you written an essay, or how many grades have you passed? Our mind sabotages us majority of the day. I've heard there's upward of 60,000 thoughts. How much truth it has, I don't know. But another survey also says that majority of those 60,000 thoughts are negative. So if we can switch our focus onto all the things that we've accomplished and give ourselves a pat on the back, not to show others, but to give the internal self strength each and every day to push forward by creating the wins. So first and foremost, create a list of 200 wins. So go back. Maybe you called somebody that was in a funk and something came through you and you gave them some very good advice. Boom. Remember that. Honor it. Write those wins down. So after you write the 200 wins, now start creating 10 to 20 wins that you are going to create during your day. So maybe you're going to hold open some doors. You're going to pay it forward for other people. You're going to be in servitude. Maybe you're going to connect with some old friends that you haven't connected with. So focus on 10 to 20 wins each and every day. And then the third step is gratitude. It's the attitude that creates altitude. So always do everything in a state of gratitude. If you are thankful for the worst of times, just like I said in my story, I thank God for putting me there. I thank God for putting me in that prison cell and giving me the resources that I needed, because I didn't see those blessings. So if you are going through the worst day, instead of doing the reactionary thing that most people do the opposite. Be grateful for it and laugh. So stay in gratitude no matter how bad the situation is. No matter if the driver cuts you off and flips you off, say, hey, have a great day. Thank you. This is not natural, but you can make it natural, because negativity is so natural to us that we have to be intentional with creating a new mindset, right? So those are my 3 steps, and that's pretty much it.
100%. Creators, I love this. This is so in line and very analogous to what I practice, what I preach, if you go back on previous episodes. But more pointedly, I want to talk about being grateful for the hard times, because when people say, Tanner, how do you do it? Like, how do you do everything that you do? You're totally blind. How do you even come back from that? And I say, I'm glad that it happened, because I was headed down the right path. Yes, I was taking steps to recorrect that, but being blind has made me the man that I am today. Being blind has opened up so many doors for me that I would have never had the opportunity to step through. Being blind has allowed me to go within myself, improve myself, better myself, and thereby better my life. It's all about the mind, creators. And I love that you talk about writing down all those wins and then being intentional about writing more future wins, because creators, when you start thinking, hey, I succeeded here, I succeeded here, I succeeded here, it's not going to be a big deal to succeed over there. It's not going to be a big deal to succeed with that. And I like to do this on a daily basis. When I wake up, I get grateful for the things that I will achieve today. I get grateful for being alive today. And at the end of the day, I get grateful for everything I accomplished without having, regret or being upset with the things that I didn't achieve. I'm grateful for the things that I got to. Vidal, a beautiful brother. I love writing down the list of wins. What a great take-home tactic.
Right on.
So when we're talking about developing your business and growing your message and your reach, tell us a little bit about getting on to the Huffington Post and the Good Man Project. I mean, and Chicken Soup for the Soul. Those are huge publications that millions of people read, and the online platforms, millions of people every day. The book, millions of people worldwide. What drove you to get on those platforms, and what was the message that you were delivering there?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm blessed, and I just want to thank everybody that helped give me the confidence to be able to write and get published in those publications. And obviously God as well. Without God and the blessings, it wouldn't have been possible. And those coaching connections and my mentors that gave me the confidence, that's really where it all ignited for me to be able to get published in Chicken Soup for the Soul. There's no way I would have been able to do it by myself. And writing for the Huffington Post, I've written little blurbs, and the Good Man Project, I've actually shared more of my story. But again, it goes back to the coaching. Everything that I try to do, I hire out because I need somebody else that's been there and done it to help me instead of me trying to go on Google or YouTube everything, because it's going to take me that much longer. Why do that? So I've learned a long time ago that hiring coaches and mentors and working with a mastermind group as well that has you leveling up is definitely the key to success.
I love it, Vidal. This is an ongoing theme, Creation Nation. Hiring a mentor or getting a mentor, getting connected and surrounding yourself with people who have been there before, people who can guide you through the weeds, who can guide you through the struggles. And Vidal, it sounds like for you, I know it is for me, that mentorship and coaching is something that's ongoing and present in your business today.
Yes, that is true. Everything I'm doing, I always hire out for coaching, even with my podcast, launch, everything that I do. And sometimes it hurts to put skin in the game, but you realize that it works out for the best when you do and you take action.
I want to talk about coaching because I know that I sometimes, when I was first getting into coaching and entrepreneurship, when I was getting my mentors, my coaches, and even when I invested in these coaches, sometimes my preconceived thoughts, beliefs, these internal limitations, again, creators, getting back to developing yourself and realizing what is possible for you, this is what I'm highlighting here, is that even when I would hire out, and pay for coaching, pay for expertise, basically shortcutting the line to get to where I'm intending to go faster, I would not do it. I had this almost block, like, oh, that's not going to work, and then so I wouldn't take action. Did you ever have anything like that, or were you just all in right from the get-go?
I've had both of those experiences, Tanner. The first coach that I hired was not cheap at all. It was scary to invest that much money.
Sure.
But when I did that, I was all in. And that was actually during the climactic time when I was going through all that devastation in my life. So I had to put a lot of the success on hold. But if it wasn't for me diving into personal development and self-help, I wouldn't have been able to get through the stuff that I got through as easily, and then going back to the masterminding and the connections, those people around me at that time helped me tremendously. Strangers helped me, Tanner. I wasn't a person that was super, super social, but because of what I was going through, it made me reach out to my friends. It made me reach out to strangers and ask, hey, do you know anyone that's going through this situation? Because I'd like to know, or at least find somebody that's going through this so I can figure out how to get through this, or if it's worth it staying together and trying to make this work. And I actually found 2 people, and they were both miserable. So it goes right back to the coaching and looking for somebody that's already done what you're about to do. It's so important, so crucial in your success.
100%. I mean, if we think about creators when we were back in high school or school, we weren't teaching the math class, right? Students weren't teaching math class to one another. We had teachers. We had administrators to organize this and help our educational development, our development into adolescence and into adulthood. The same thing is true with entrepreneurship. The same thing is true with publishing your first book, even developing the skills of how to write your first book, developing the skills of how to launch that business, how to grow that business, how to scale that business. So important for you to connect with the people that have done it before you, the people who have done it better, the people who have successfully done it, and the people who have successfully worked with other people. And the other take-home point that I want to point out that Vidal mentioned for creators to put into action is, if you're not ready to hire a coach, if you're not ready to double down on you, the most deserving person that you know, you creators, you're the most deserving person that you know. If you're not ready to double down on you, then maybe it's time to pick up a self-help book. Maybe it's time to pick up some text, pick up an audiobook, pick up something to help you change your mind, because you are a powerful creator. It only takes a shift in mindset to really create something powerful. When we're talking about sharing your message, Vidal, are you more in line with sharing the written word, the spoken word? I like both. I think that you do too, but what's your preference?
As far as spoken and written, I am using more of a transcription, like, going through dictation first to get the rough draft and flush that out first and foremost, and then cleaning it up just to get some thoughts on paper or on text. And that really helps a lot, is spoken in the beginning, because I do get stuck sometimes. We all get writer's block, but both come handy. And I would suggest to use the dictation first. If you don't feel that you're a writer, you're good at writing, just use dictation. There's so many tools out there. There's Rev, an app that you can actually speak into that, and they'll record and send it to a transcriber, and I can't remember how much it is per minute, and then they'll email it to you, everything in text form. So it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of things out there that are helping newbies make writing life so much easier now. So I'm thankful to be here in this time.
Totally. Technology is making things a whole lot easier for us. And creators, if you like doing it on the computer, I know that my mentor likes talking his manuscript out, and he uses Dragon Naturally Speaking, which will go right there on your PC or your Mac. And this has been some amazing content, creators. Vidal, thank you so much for dropping all this knowledge on Creation Nation. And let's go ahead and wrap up with another mindset question. What was it for you? I know that this happened for me. When I was writing my first book, it never got published. It's still not published. I wrote over 200 pages, and it became this block for me where I was too afraid to put myself out there. I was too afraid that I'd be scrutinized by others, that it wouldn't be good enough. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I think that many of us here in Creation Nation are. What was it that, did you ever suffer from that perfectionist kind of mindset that this isn't good enough yet, or I'm afraid to put this out because I don't want people to hate on me? Did that ever happen to you? And if so, what did you do about it?
Oh man, Creation Nation, I still suffer from imperfection, or I should say this perfectionist syndrome.
Sure.
So how I like to conquer and overcome the perfectionist syndrome is I bless imperfection. Without the rough draft manuscript, there couldn't be a published manuscript that's final, right? So it's the beginning point. It's a stepping stone, just like when we first did our first podcast episode, right, Tanner?
Yes.
We don't want to go back to listening to those
Sure.
because we already know it's going to sabotage us. So it's just about keep moving, keep going, and just keep evolving with whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. You're not going to be great in the beginning. It doesn't happen overnight. If it takes 10,000 hours, well, then be grateful that you're going to be putting in those 10,000 hours and log them, and then look back and count those wins. Tanner, you're at episode so-and-so. Bless every single one of those episodes, right? So you're blessing the imperfection. So that's kind of how I flip the perfectionist syndrome on its head. And remember this too as well. I've heard so many successful people, someone like Chris Gardner, if you're familiar with the book Pursuit of Happiness, if it wasn't for Maya Angelou telling Chris, publish the book, get it on paper, you are cheating others of your story. They need your story. It isn't about you, Chris. It's about your story and others.
Right.
So with that being said, just serve others with your story. Don't look at it that you're being so open and transparent. Maybe it's not going to resonate with everyone, but there's someone out there that needs to hear it, someone that needs to read it. So that's what I try to focus on when I'm writing any book, any article, any blog, any episode. I'm thinking about the other person on the other side. What is the outcome that they're looking for, and how can I serve them?
Love that. And getting back, making it full circle to back with what really helped you realize that you're going to do something better is living in service of others, creators. That's what Creative Success Show is all about. That's what Vidal's all about. And I hope that's what you are all about. Some other take-home points that I want creators to really apply into their lives is to give gratitude, give forgiveness, start developing yourself as a person. Pick up a self-help book, hire out, get some coaching, get some mentorship of someone who's been there before. Stop comparing yourself and trying to be perfect, comparing yourself to these other greats that have done it for 10, 20, or 30 years. Just take action and believe in yourself, because you deserve it. And other people deserve to hear and feel and experience your creative success. Vidal, thank you so much for joining us today on Creative Success.
Thank you, brother. It was a slice.
Wow, creators. Vidal, thank you so much for coming on and influencing, fueling the success of Creation Nation with your message. What a powerful story, creators. From the jail cell to picking up a book to becoming a published contributor of that book. So incredibly powerful. And it's just proof in the pudding that you too, you and I, are no different than Vidal. You too can decide to choose a better life and turn it around and make it happen for you. What is the next step for you, creators? I hope it's to get over to the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/39 and connect with Vidal. We would both also really appreciate it if you shared this episode. You can do it right now. Share it to Facebook, right from the podcast app on your phone, as well as the best place to always share is from the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/39. I've got quotes, messages, and ideas specific from this episode to make it really easy to share to Facebook, Twitter, or wherever your favorite social channel is. Because that's what we do here at Creative Success. We make it really easy to be successful, to share, and have a positive impact on the world around us. Right, creators? We got to create that legacy. We've got to improve the world around us, and we are doing it together right here, right now. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Wish me luck again out here in Ames, Iowa, crushing it on the beat baseball field. And until next time, creators, I am Tanner Gers, your partner in triumph and creative success.